You have to talk really loud if you do some talking here.
Yeah, I probably won't.
This will be the intro. What's going on, guys? We are back with another video today. We have a windy but warm spring day today, and overall everywhere you're going to be fishing for the next couple weeks, the weather trend is up. We got a lot of warm temperatures coming, a lot of upper 60s, even some 80 degrees depending on where you are in walleye country, and that's going to move these fish around. You know, the difference between where these fish were a week ago to where these fish are going to be in 2 weeks is a big difference, and we're starting to see this progression take place, and we're going to walk you guys through it today and hopefully catch a whole bunch of walleyes. So, you know, stay tuned. We're definitely going to break some stuff down in the GPS, show you what kind of spots we're looking for, where those fish were, where they're going, and then we're definitely going to show you on side imaging and sonar too, and say, hey, this is what the spot looked like you should be fishing a week ago, and this is what it should be looking like where you're going to fish now. So stay tuned. We got a ton of good information about seasonal progressions in the spring, and hopefully we catch a bunch of walleyes. What do you think?
You know what? We will.
I reckon we'll catch a few. Stay tuned. Let's make it happen.
I literally got
Pop at the same time. You see my terrible looking look set?
I did.
Rolling.
What's up, guys? We are out here. I am hooked up on just an absolute.
That looks nice.
Giant.
Must have popped it good, eh?
I did, but I don't know if it's a giant. I was just kidding about that.
Oh, dude, it's a nice one. I'm gonna net him for you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just gonna be a gentleman. I'm gonna scoop him up for you.
You are a gentleman.
That's the way to start her right there. 22.
Yeah, probably.
First cast of the day. Nice healthy fish.
Take a look at this thing. We're out here just pitching some jigs. Tom's using a plastic. I have live bait on. First cast, hooked up. Yeah. Let me get a picture of this guy before I get it back.
Oh my gosh, this guy needs damn pictures.
Dude, this thing was rolling the whole time.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Makes it convenient to just start filming again when you're always filming. Now, you're 1 for 1 now, as long as this is a walleye. Mitch is fishing the live bait. I am pitching the old Kalen's jerk minnow around. Look at that. Way up shallow. I bombed that one way up into the sand flat. Little jerk minnow, crushing them. We got a nice wind today for throwing some plastics, mixing it up. So we'll see who catches more, if it's me or Mitch. Mitch with the live bait on. It's a lot of short range pitching, so I think Mitch would probably catch more, but there's a nice one on the plastic, about a 16 incher. Let him go. All right, so where are these fish starting early in the spring, and where are they moving to? You know, that's kind of what we're gonna talk about here. First, we're gonna talk about, you know, looking at a map and trying to identify some of these pieces of structure. So like I do pretty much all spring, I keep my shallow water highlight, which will be the red on the map, kind of like 8 feet and in somewhere in there. And I'll keep that fringe, kind of that mid-depth green highlight, I'll keep that between my shallow water highlight, generally out to like 12 or 13 feet, depending on the lake. So we're gonna scroll in where we're fishing here today, and what you're gonna see is a lot of red here. So we have this primary piece of structure, right? This is all very shallow here. It's actually an island complex, and it's a lot of gravel and you know, a lot of good fish holding stuff when it's very cold out, and where these fish actually spawn. You know, we know most of these walleyes are spawning in, you know, less than 5 feet of water, and a lot of times early in the spring, very early on, when that water temp's like 47 and under, these fish don't really leave these areas for a few weeks. You know, pretty much everywhere you're gonna be across walleye fishing nation this week, we have temps warming, and a lot of times these fish are going to start sliding off that primary very shallow stuff where we've been catching them for a couple weeks, and they're going to move to kind of the next thing. So what I like to do is I like to kind of scroll to the outer limits of my red, and I like to start looking for structure very close to that, and especially stuff that's like a flat. These fish love flats this time of year, and right off the red we have this large green flat. You know, we got a little point right here, right? Perfect little point right here. We have a little 12-foot hump over here, and it's a large area, right? This is not a very thin band of this depth range. So, you know, a lot of times it's easy to just look at the map, find these kind of big popular spawning flats like this where these fish are gonna be when the water's very cold, and then you'll go a little bit deeper, follow that green out, and you start looking for structure. And right away, like this point right here jumps out at you, this little knob over here jumps out at you. Kind of doing those little things will definitely point you in the right direction of where these fish were and where they're going to be for probably the next couple of weeks now. And we're gonna catch a few more fish, and the next thing we're gonna talk about is what this stuff looks like on the side imaging. Up.
Hot darn fish here? I don't even know what the hell does that even mean.
A hot darn fish?
Yeah, what did it even say?
Sounds like you got excited.
Sure did.
I'll go ahead and scoop it. Watch out, sir. We gotta get the net. How's it feeling?
Feels okay. Feels okay.
Nice little eater, walleye there. Catching them.
What's prettier, Tom? That walleye or me?
Definitely the fish.
Oh. Surly disagrees. Right, Surly? Said your Uncle Daddy's the prettiest human alive? He was hooked good, too. See right there? When you see that, you just know. It thumped it. You set the hook properly. All right, take a look. Small guy, perfect eater, but it'll do. That's what we're after.
Catching them.
Yes, ma'am, we are. Dude, you know when I went by that building today, and it says for sale, and then for lease.
Hooked up, fish on. Oh yeah. Exactly what we are looking for here.
Nice fish.
Nice walleye there. I love fishing clear water. How about you? I
do.
Just see them all down there. Big pot out on the side imaging. Got them. I don't know if there's like a weather change that came in, but like the second we got out here it was like boom, 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 fish, 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 and then like the wind kind of shifted, and now this is like the third pod we've locked down on, and they're just kind of finicky, but getting it done, catching fish. We have not been out here for very long. We're definitely on the right stuff. When these fish start sliding off kind of that first stuff, knowing where you can find them and where to look for them is all the difference this time of year when this water starts warming up. Oh, we caught him. Let's let him go. See you later, dude. All right, guys, so we're coming over one of these spots that is holding a lot of fish very early in the year. You know, kind of like we talked about, a lot of times these fish start way up on top. And what you can see right now is we're kind of on this big gravel spine. This is the perfect kind of spot where fish are spawning. It's 5 to 7 feet deep up here. And this is the kind of spot these fish are using when the water is very cold, mid 40s and lower. Now, you kind of start coming off some of this stuff and it goes to straight sand. And sometimes there'll be fish on straight sand, but a lot of times what you're gonna see is eventually you'll get to a depth where the weeds will start. So as we're kind of cruising off this primary shallow water spine here, we're kind of in the barren zone right now. There's not a lot of fish holding structure right here. You know, we got water temps on this lake that are 50 degrees. These fish have kind of pushed to the secondary stuff like we've talked about. And a lot of places over walleye country, the same thing's going on. You know, maybe opening weekend you were catching them you know, way up shallow, and now it's warmed up a little bit. You can see now we're actually seeing a whole bunch of fish on the graph, and the next thing you're gonna see is a big milfoil weed pocket, right? This is the next available piece of structure that we have, and you can see on the side imaging here, I'll go ahead and screenshot it in case the GoPro is not that clear, but we have our next piece of structure, right? It's on the same piece of structure, but we have this big weed edge, and the fish are sitting right on that inside edge. And that illustrates nicely how these fish, you know, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, depending on where you are, you know, kind of the progression. These fish start way up shallow in that 4, 6, 7 foot range where we were catching a lot of them. As the water progressively warms and they move farther away from the spawn, they come out to that very next, basically structural element. You know, sometimes in a lake like Green Bay, this might be a mile, and a lot of your natural lakes in northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, this might only be a couple hundred yards like we just showed you. But understanding how these fish move throughout the course of the spring will definitely keep you guys on a lot more fish. And as you can see from the GoPro, these are literally all fish. So we're gonna spot lock down and start casting. This is exactly what you wanna see. But keep moving around, you know, keep this in mind, you know, where those fish start, where they're going, and you guys are gonna be much better off this spring. Boley? Yes, sir. Threw back into the pod, and the very first cast, he bit. That's the right attitude. That is exactly what we want to see. We want to spot lock. Well, we want to see the fish, then we want to spot lock, then we want to cast back on them, and then like your second jig, you want to be getting bit. Look at that beautiful eater walleye there. There's about 20 more of them back there we might potentially catch, but probably not. So there you go. Little 1/8 ounce Google-eyed jig. Fish are just huddled up right next to some of that new weed growth. They pushed out of the super shallow stuff, and now they're kind of on that first fringe weed growth. We'll let that guy go. Awesome. All right, guys, well, that is gonna do it for today. Quick little video. You know, I get asked a ton of questions on this channel about holding a bunch of different stuff. I don't really know what to film a lot of the time without it being repetitive, so a lot of times I go to the comment section, and seasonal progression is always a great topic because it's always relevant, and it happens numerous times throughout the season. So if you guys were doing great 2 weeks ago, I know a lot of guys struggle when those fish kind of move off those easily predictable spawning flats and they move to the next thing. So this video should be a great video to kind of point you guys in the right direction, get you on the trail to success, because the pattern that's gonna set up after this water hits about, you know, low 50s is gonna pretty much stay there until the water temp gets into that low 60-degree range. So that directly post-spawn bite, once you get those warmer temps, it's one of the funnest ones of the year, because most of the time it's always going to be a warming trend. Those fish are happy, the water's warming up, the fish are biting, and they stay put for a long time. So it's a great time of year, and you can catch them a whole bunch of different ways, which we'll talk about in a different video. But hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. We got more videos to film today. If you're not yet, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.